The rain hammered the windows of the Silver Lantern Diner like it had a personal grudge, each drop a tiny fist trying to break in. I was wiping the same 3-inch strip of counter for the 6th time, my reflection pale and hollow-eyed in the chrome. 2 hours left on the graveyard shift. 2 hours until I could drag myself back to the sagging apartment on 9th and Mercer and pretend the stack of hospital invoices didn't exist. Black coffee, no sugar, came a low voice from the back corner booth, the one nobody ever chose unless they wanted to be forgotten. I grabbed the pot, ignoring the blister blooming on my palm. Nights were dead quiet, just the usual insomniacs, a couple of drunks nursing hangovers, and the occasional long-haul trucker. That's why he stood out like a blade in a drawer full of spoons. He sat alone in the darkest corner, legs stretched out as if he owned the place. Midnight blue suit cut sharper than sin, black shirt open at the throat, a watch that probably cost more than the entire building. The air around him felt thinner, like he absorbed oxygen just by existing. Danger radiated off him in waves, quiet and absolute. I set the mug down. My fingers shook harder than I wanted to admit. He didn't thank me. His storm gray eyes locked on the fading bruise along my left cheekbone, souvenir from Caleb, my ex, who vanished 3 weeks ago after draining every cent I had and leaving me with nothing but a black eye and a broken heart. "You're new," he said. Not a question. 2 years here. I answered before my brain caught up with my mouth to flicker of something amusement, maybe irritation, crossed his face. New to me. The possessive tone crawled under my skin like ice water. I took a step back, coffee pot clutched to my chest like armor. Anything else? Your name, Sage. I gave it. Instantly regretted it. Sage, he repeated, tasting it the way a wolf tests the air. I'm Luca. No last name. Men like him don't need them. A car door slammed outside. His hand disappeared under the table for half a heartbeat, just long enough for me to notice the movement was practiced lethal. When he looked back, the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Your shift ends at 1. I slid down my spine. How did you? I have a proposition. He cut in, voice smooth as aged whiskey. And I pay very well. I should have run. Should have told Ray I felt sick, grabbed my coat, and melted into the rain. But the image of those hospital bills, Mom's tired voice on the phone last night, trying to sound brave while she talked about the latest round of chemo, glued my feet to the cracked linoleum. What kind of proposition? Luca smiled. Slow. Lethal. The kind of smile that belonged on wanted posters. 2 months. You pretend to be my fiancé in front of my family. The pot nearly slipped from my hand. Why me? My grandmother is dying. Cancer. She has weeks, maybe less. All she wants before she goes is to see me settled. Happy. In love. His voice didn't change, but something raw flickered behind his eyes and vanished just as fast. Temporary arrangement. 70 grand. 35 wired to your account tonight. The rest when it's over. $70,000. The number punched the air from my lungs. The experimental treatment the insurance refused to cover. The debt that was drowning us. A fresh start. A life where I wasn't constantly terrified of the next phone call from the hospital billing department. Why me? I whispered again. You could buy anyone. Literally. I need someone real, he said simply. Someone the cameras don't follow. Someone who won't sell the story to the tabloids the second my back is turned. Someone who needs the money badly enough to keep their mouth shut and play the part perfectly. Shame burned my face hotter than the coffee pot. I have conditions. I manage. He lifted one dark brow. Name them. I see my mom whenever I want. No restrictions. And the first payment hits my account tonight, before I agree to anything. Something that might have been respect flashed in his storm gray eyes. Done. He reached into his jacket and placed a small velvet box on the table between us. But I have one condition of my own. I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside lay a white gold ring with an emerald the size of a nickel, flanked by tiny diamonds that caught the fluorescent light like green fire. Next to it, a delicate necklace, silver chain with a stylized V wrapped in thorn-like vines. The ring says you're mine, Luca said, voice dropping an octave. The necklace has a tracker. Remove it, and the deal ends immediately. No negotiation. The word mine sent a shiver through me I refused to examine. That's more than one condition. Take it or leave it. The rain roared against the windows. The old fluorescents buzzed like dying insects. Luca waited, utterly motionless, utterly certain of my answer, because he already knew I had no real choice. When do we start? I heard myself ask. Tonight. He rose in one fluid motion, towering over me. Pack whatever you need. My driver will be here in 25 minutes. I can't just. It's handled. He dropped a thick stack of hundreds on the table, more than enough to cover a month of his coffee. Ray knows you're not coming back. He leaned in, breath warm against my ear, scent of cedar and storm. Don't make me come looking for you, Sage. The business card he pressed into my palm was heavy cream stock, embossed black letters. Luca Valente. A single phone number. Nothing else. 25 minutes until my old life ended. I stood frozen as he walked out, the bell above the door giving a pathetic jingle. Through the rain-streaked window, I watched him slide into the back of a sleek black town car, another man holding an umbrella like a bodyguard. 24 minutes. I slipped into the back room, hands shaking as I untied my apron. The jewelry box weighed 1,000 pounds in my pocket. 23 minutes until I belonged, however temporarily, to a man who looked like he collected people the way others collected art, a man who could make someone disappear with a phone call, a man who had just bought 2 months of my life for $70,000 and a promise I wasn't sure I could keep. The clock above the register blinked red. 12:37, 23 minutes. I grabbed my coat, my heart hammering so hard I could barely hear. The rain anymore. 23 minutes until I stepped into the storm and into Luca Valente's world, and something told me once I crossed that threshold, there would be no going back. The black sedan slid through wrought iron gates strong enough to stop tanks, floodlights snapping onto bathe the driveway in cold white. The estate rose like a fortress carved from moonlight. 3 stories of pale limestone, amber windows, hedges clipped with surgical precision. Old money screaming in stone. A man in charcoal opened my door. Rain dripped from marble columns onto my worn sneakers. Inside, the foyer swallowed sound. Crystal chandelier the size of a car, twin staircases, scent of beeswax and orchids. My ratty duffel looked obscene on the black and white marble. Mrs. Harlan materialized, 60-something, iron gray bun sharp enough to cut glass, and sized me up with one disdainful sweep. Miss Whitlock, sweets ready. Appropriate clothing awaits. She didn't take my bag. I followed the click of her heels. The suite was obscene. Fireplace already lit, bed drowned in ivory silk, closet bigger than my old apartment. Every dress, sweater, shoe my exact size. A chill crawled up my spine. How long had he been watching? Dinner in 40 minutes. A midnight blue silk dress lay on the bed. No underwear. Message received. In the mirror I was a stranger. Collarbone sharp, emerald blazing on my finger, thorn-wrapped V pendant heavy at my throat. Mrs. Harlan returned, grudging nod of approval, and led me to a candlelit dining room. 2 place settings. Lucas stood by the fire, sleeves rolled, forearms scarred, black shirt stretched across shoulders that could carry or crush the world. His gaze moved over me slowly. You clean up well. Your housekeeper hates my clothes. Mrs. Harlan hates everything breathing. Loyalty matters more. Wine poured blood red. I left mine untouched. Ground rules before we toast. You're not what I expected, Sage. Not submissive enough? 70 grand buys performance and silence. Not your soul. I held his stare. Then use my name. He inclined his head. Agreed. Sage. Cover story. Met 3 months ago at the diner, love at first sight, moved in 2 weeks ago. Simple. Terrifying. He opened a hidden panel, war room. 1 wall. Photos, red string, notes. Center. Anton Kovac. Murdered my father. Off to the side. Caleb, my ex, arm around a younger Kovac. Your ex stole more than your savings, Lucas said quietly. He stole a ledger. Kovac protects him now. I backed into the wall. You're using me as bait. Mutual benefit. His fingers brushed the pendant. Sparks shot across my skin. You save your mother. I get Caleb. Mom's tired voice echoed in my head. I stayed silent. Tomorrow, family dinner at Donna Elena's. Wear the navy dress. Don't remove the necklace. Not even to sleep. Next night was trial by fire. Donna Elena's estate dwarfed Luca's. Claudia greeted us with Arctic elegance. Bianca studied me like a bug. Nico's shark smile made my skin crawl. Donna Elena, frail, regal, eyes like winter, took one look at my ring and smiled, small and terrifying. Later, she pulled me aside. If Luca brought you here and gave you his ring, it is not just business. He does not bring women home. Ever. Nico cornered me in the library. Caleb's ex suddenly engaged to Luca Valente, convenient bait. Before I could answer, Luca's hand clamped Nico's throat, lifting him an inch. Touch her again, and I'll forget we're blood. Nico left laughing and choking. I and the car home. Luca stared out the window. You can still walk. Money's yours. New life. I looked at the emerald, at the red marks on his knuckles. I'm not going anywhere. He didn't take me to my suite. He stopped outside his door, pushed it open, waited. I stepped inside. The kiss wasn't part of any deal. Soft, then desperate. Weeks of tension unraveling. Foreheads touching, he whispered. I stopped pretending the night you walked through my gate, Sage. Something inside me cracked wide open. I kissed him again. And this time, I didn't care who was watching. 3 weeks had slipped by in a blur of marble corridors and whispered Italian, and the strangest part was how quickly the impossible became routine. Mornings began with shared breakfast on the terrace. When Luca wasn't dragged away by encrypted calls, he'd push a plate of fresh figs and ricotta toward me, steal sips of my espresso, and watch the sunrise like a man who'd forgotten the world could be soft. 3 afternoons a week, I visited Mom at the hospital, her cheeks filling out, her laugh returning, the experimental treatment working faster than any doctor had dared hope. The rest of the time we were the city's newest obsession. Luca Valente and the mystery woman on his arm at gallery openings, charity galas, rooftop clubs where bouncers parted like curtains and cameras flashed like lightning. Every night his hand settled at the small of my back, warm and possessive. The emerald weighed heavy on my finger. The tracker pendant rested warm against my skin, a constant reminder that I was both protected and owned. Then one gray morning, he walked into the sunlit breakfast room carrying a tablet instead of coffee. His face was unreadable steel. Caleb was photographed outside the hospital yesterday, he said, voice flat. Watching the entrance you use. He turned the screen. There was my ex, older, harder, eyes fixed on the automatic doors like a wolf waiting for a lamb. My stomach lurched. The charity gala is in 3 days, Luca continued. Black tie, 500 guests, every major outlet covering it. Perfect stage. He'll come for you. Fear clawed up my throat. You knew this could happen. I hoped it would happen sooner, and on my terms. He set the tablet down. Security will be tripled. You'll never be more than 10 feet from me or my men. I laughed, a brittle sound. So, I'm the worm on the hook after all. He crossed the room in 2 strides and dropped to one knee in front of my chair, the way he had the first night he'd ever shown vulnerability. Look at me. His hands framed my face. You still think this is only about Caleb? About some ledger? I tried to shake my head, but the tears were already coming. Because it hasn't been, he said fiercely. Not for weeks. Not since the night you chose to stay. Then he kissed me, no audience, no pretense, just raw, breathless need. Weeks of tension detonated between us. I tasted coffee and desperation and the metallic edge of fear, and I kissed him back like drowning point. 3 nights later the estate was a hive of controlled chaos. My gown was liquid emerald silk, backless to the base of my spine, slid high enough to make Mrs. Harlan clutch invisible pearls. Luca waited at the foot of the grand staircase in a tuxedo sharp enough to cut glass, eyes darkening as they traveled over me. He took my hand. After tonight, he said quietly, no more lies. I don't want it to end, I whispered. His smile was slow, Radiant. Dangerous. Then it won't. The ballroom at the Meridian was a sea of diamonds and camera flashes. We moved through it like royalty, Luca's hand never leaving my waist, his body angled to shield me from every lens. Champagne flowed, chandeliers dripped light, and for 2 hours I almost believed we were simply a couple in love. Then I saw him. Caleb. Same crooked nose, same dead eyes, pushing through the crowd with terrifying purpose. The knife in his hand caught the light like a falling star. Everything slowed. Luca spun, shoving me behind him so hard I stumbled in my heels. The blade flashed. I heard fabric rip, heard Luca's sharp inhale. Blood bloomed scarlet across his white shirt. Security swarmed. Caleb went down under a tide of black suits, the knife skittering across marble. I screamed Luca's name and lunged forward, catching him as his knees buckled. Just a scratch, he rasped, but his face was ashen. Warm blood soaked through my gown where I pressed against the wound. Cameras exploded around us. Someone shouted for a doctor. I didn't care. He cupped my face with bloody hands, thumb brushing away tears I hadn't realized were falling. It's over, he said. Caleb's finished. You're free. I laughed through the sobs. I don't want to be free. I want you. Something shattered open in his eyes. Relief. Joy. Love so fierce it stole my breath. Then stay, he whispered, and the car racing toward a private clinic, sirens muted behind tinted glass. He reached for the clasp at my throat with trembling fingers and unfastened the tracker necklace. It fell into his palm like a dead thing. You don't need this anymore. I touched my bare neck, suddenly weightless. And the ring. He lifted my left hand, turned the emerald so it caught the passing streetlights. This one you keep. Forever, if you want it. I laughed, delirious and crying at once. You're proposing after a month, while bleeding on my dress? I'm asking you to stay, he corrected, voice rough. Marriage can wait until I'm not hemorrhaging. I leaned my forehead against his good shoulder. Yes, Luca. 1,000 times yes. The estate appeared at the end of the drive, windows glowing soft gold against the night, and no longer a gilded cage. Home, our home, and for the first time in years, tomorrow didn't terrify me. It felt like the beginning.